let's get going. Let's see. Let's start with we do the chair's announcement. Any comments on the minutes?
Nope.
Nothing further.
Nothing further. Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Steve, and second. Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next, let's go to the, we're going to go to the municipal aggregation because this is Denise and Stuart are from Colonial Power Group, which is our manager, our administrator. And as we all know, we recently received about a penny increase. And I think that maybe you can just bring us up to speed on anything that you think is relevant, I would say, and any next steps that you recommend. And I have a couple of things that I think we want to just review as well with the committee, like, well, I think the two issues that I can see are that we pause, like the next thing we were going to do is send out the notification letter to everybody. And I think we should just, my thought is just pause on that right now and wait until August and see what happens. So that's one thing that's up in the air. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. And then I know that Michael, on the town website at the very top, there's a banner that says there's been an increase. And just to see if other towns are doing anything. I mean, I spoke to Michael about that, and his feeling was the town wasn't going to do anything more about that the increase wasn't that much. But I want to get the views of the committee and see what other people think. But maybe you can just go over that a little bit, Denise and Stuart, and see if those questions resonate with you, if you can respond a little bit to those. Anything else that you want to make sure they cover?
Well, why don't we just,
Okay.
yeah, there may be, and just.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, as you mentioned, there is going to be about a little bit over a penny rate increase effective with the March 2026 meter reads. So March, we're just going into March now, so folks aren't going to see that until their April bills, right? You use your electricity first and then it shows up. So it's going to start accruing with your March meter read. You're going to see it on your April bill. For the standard product, let me just look and make sure. You were at 14,750, and that included 25% more Mass Class 1 RECs. That's going to go to 16 cents starting in March. And as you mentioned, Laura, that's going to put the town that slightly over the National Grid basic service rate, about 6 mils or so, which is about $3.50 a month over National Grid basic service. The jump up in the little over a penny is about a $7.50 more on the monthly bill than what folks were paying. So $7.50 more a month, and it's about $3.75 based on 600 kWh more than National Grid. And as you mentioned, this is the National Grid basic service rate went into effect on February 1st. It's in effect until July 31st. 2026, and then it will change August 1. We expect that rate to go up. It's a winter rate, and I'm going to talk about these costs and then have Stuart go into a little more detail. But these DAISY costs that are raising the town's rate, we do expect to see that reflected. That hasn't hit the basic service rates yet, so we do expect to see a basic service rate. We're projecting high 16s, right around 17 for National Grid. Again, that's based on current market conditions. But so you are a little bit over what we do kind of expect that to come more in line in August, to your point about the mailing and notifying folks, waiting till August. So this, I'll give a general, and then Stuart's, unfortunately for Stuart, he's intimately aware of all the details around DAISY. But what this is a program, an ISO New England, and ISO New England is the grid, all of New England, right? And this program was approved by FERC in January 2024, and it went into effect in March 2025. And initial guidance from ISO New England was just way short of where it came in. I'm going to have Stuart talk about the numbers. But when the town and the larger Berkshire aggregation went out last spring to negotiate its new contract terms, which started in November of 2025, this was discussed at both indicative and executable pricing. And because the program was new, it was really unhedgeable. There were no real costs to go from. We were going off ISO New England's guidance, which was about $1.25 or so a megawatt. So what the town and the larger Berkshire Ag put into the contract was a kind of a placeholder for 6 mills, right? We were talking 125, we put in 6. We figured that would more than cover the Berkshire aggregation for when actual costs came in, but the language in the contract had a cost recovery provision. So when actual costs came in, the supplier could put that over to the ag and we'd have to adjust the rate accordingly. Now, based on the 1.25 and then the 6 that we put in, felt we were more than covered and we would likely be coming back lowering the rate. But unfortunately, ISO New England's guidance was far off. And it came in way above that. I'm going to kind of hand to Stuart and he can go into the specifics with the cold weather and then the inaccurate guidance. It was kind of off the charts and it was 2 years worth of costs in just a couple days. So he can talk more about that. And then you can ask questions about the actual program if you do have questions after kind of Stuart gives the overview. Stuart, if you don't mind.
No, happy to, and I'll keep it somewhat high level to start, and then entertain any questions you may have. I mean, Denise has explained it well. I'll just add a little bit more color. So as Denise said, the ISO did its own modeling, its own analysis when it developed the program. It was projecting that the program cost on an annual basis for all of New England was going to be about $140 million. And so that equates, as Denise said, to about $1.25 per megawatt hour. Okay. And that's what FERC approved. FERC decided, yeah, those are just and reasonable rates. Where we are today, so the program, as Denise said, started March 1st of 2025. So we now have gone a full year with the program in operation. And instead of $1.24 a megawatt hour, it's cost ratepayers $10.40 a megawatt hour. So almost 10 times what the ISO had projected. So instead of $140 million over the course of a year, $1.2 billion with a B. So the good news is the ISO just a few weeks ago issued a memo to all market participants saying basically, okay, we recognize that this has not gone the way we expected. It was honestly a surprisingly frank memo saying, yeah, we got to go back to the drawing board. So they have committed over the course of the next several months to make revisions to this program specifically to bring the cost down. And what they're hoping to do is complete that work before next winter. You know, it's not gonna be quick, but that they're committed to try to make changes so that when we get into next winter, we won't have a repeat of what we just experienced.
Can you just tell us what DAISY stands for?
Yeah, it's the day ahead ancillary services market, and it goes like, yeah, day ahead.
Day ahead.
Day ahead. Okay.
Yeah, day ahead ancillary services.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
And so okay, so I don't know, I don't really know what that does, but that's okay. I mean, it's just, I know that the cold weather and that spike blew out everybody's budget.
Right. And it's folks who are called on in cold weather to start up, right, and serve. They're, sometimes they'd start up and then they wouldn't have to actually perform, right? They're compensating them for being, they have to get up and ready. So they're compensating them for that now. So that combined with the cold weather and having to go further into the stack for generators, right? Especially when if you're doing both heating and electricity, heating gets priority, right? So the costs just were far worse than they didn't really think they were going to be bad, but they just far out of what they thought they were going to be. So that's they kind of redesigned the market, and that's what they're doing now. So they just have to figure out how to get their methodology in line, like Stuart said, going forward.
Okay. Okay. So I think, I don't know, questions?
I have a question, Laura. So I guess, Denise, if was any of this as a result of a lot more people going with electric heat and that adding the burden to the demand, or what do they think caused the demand?
Stuart, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was not demand. Well, no, in large part, it was the design of the program itself, and it really it's a complicated program, and I'm not saying that because I don't think you can understand. It's hard to explain, quite honestly. I have difficulty wrapping my head around it. I've been doing this a lot of years, but it no, the biggest cost driver, it well, let me put it this way. One of the things the ISO said in its memo was what it didn't anticipate is the risk that that this new program was imposing on the generators trying to provide the service. So they sort of constructed this program, it's quasi-administratively determined, inviting qualified generators to participate. But in order for the generators to participate, the offer prices were far higher than what the ISO expected. So it's really it's like the design of the program that's the problem, if you will. So to answer your question, no, this wasn't a demand-driven phenomenon.
Okay.
Now, the one thing I will say is, as Denise noted, and you all experienced, we had some extreme cold late in January, and of course, demand was quite high during those 2 or 3 days. And so that coupled with a flawed program, the costs were extreme. I mean, in 2 days, it exceeded the ISO's program projection of 2 years of cost in just those 2 days.
Stuart,
But overall, it's not a demand problem, if you will. It's a design problem.
Stuart, what changes do you anticipate on the supply side to deal with the peak demand?
As a result of this program, I mean, it's really
as a result of the events over the winter, and I guess overlaid with the program.
Right. I mean, the program wasn't created to try necessarily to incent sort of new resources to enter the market. It's been a long-standing issue that generating resources that were providing sort of quick start services and providing valuable reliability within a certain day, like within the day when the ISO, maybe its projection was off, and so it's calling on generators to ramp up or to come online, in the next 15 minutes or next hour. It's always been an issue that those resources were not getting compensated adequately enough to come on quickly, to acquire the gas or the oil they need sort of on the spot. So it's been a long-standing issue over many, many years. So they finally created this program to try to solve that problem, to properly compensate these generators. But their initial swing, if you will, wasn't terribly good. So they got to go back to the drawing board. And the other part of it is the part of their objective, they meaning the ISO, it was to create a program structure that allowed other resources like wind and solar to sort of interrelate more effectively. So that, in other words, they're anticipating, of course, that in time, we're going to have more offshore wind coming on. We're going to continue to have strong implementation of solar, and so they needed to sort of look ahead and make sure they had a program that allowed that didn't interfere with those projects coming online, and they could still maintain good reliability on the system overall.
So one question is I think we're in a position right now where we really just, at this point, just at least want to be informed and want to understand. And I guess it's complicated. I mean, that's the bottom line, is it's very complicated and, and a stretch for everybody. But I think now would be good to get your best guess going forward. Like now our rates can we safely assure residents that this basic rate is going to stick? Is there any, unless there's some brand new regulatory initiative? Is that true?
So we had to pay back what we under accrued, right? And we're doing that with this rate. And we asked the supplier to go a little into, was it January, Stuart, or February? With the rate increase.
In terms of anticipated under accrual, yeah, all through February.
Through February, right? So
Yeah.
we have that in. And
Wait, say it again slowly, because I forgot to put on my hearing aids. Okay.
right. So from November when the rate change, right, until February, we asked them to, what we've under accrued, even though we did this at the beginning of February, we asked them to kind of go forward through the end of February and figure that in. So that's in this rate change that you're seeing, right? We are going to have to come back to the town. There's still a cost recovery mechanism in the contract. We know this doesn't work for municipal aggregation, right? It's supposed to be fixed. There's supposed to be savings. So going forward, we're not going to have these in the contract. It's just, it was difficult with this because it was unhedgeable and we couldn't get suppliers to give us a good price. And we didn't want the town paying a ton more for a fixed price when the supplier had no idea what that was going to cost you. We're obviously going to overpay from jump. So we have to come back to you. We're monitoring it. We're in close contact with the supplier, and we see the numbers on Stuart's watching ISO New England's website. We're ticketing, tying all the numbers, and we will be coming back to you. We are going to convert the contracts to fixed, right? It's just now isn't the time because everything's elevated. And if we ask for a number now, you're going to pay more than you need to be paying. So we will be coming back. We'll keep everybody updated, and we will be coming back on Daisy, maybe later this year, early next year. We will be coming back with a better guess. Now, I will say, I don't want to scare anyone. Every ESA has a provision for a change in law, right? I don't know that we have any on the horizon right now, but there's always the risk that if there's a federal or a state change in law that wasn't built into the contract when it's bid, there might be a rate change during the term of the contract. It's usually a couple of mils. It's not this. This is a one-off. But I just want to make you aware of that, right? So we will be coming back. Maybe the rate will go down. We just have to kind of work through the numbers, but now isn't the time to do it just because everything's elevated. I will say though, Laura, that when the town went out for its energy, right, you already locked in your hedge on the energy. This is an ancillary charge. So the time you bought the energy, that's fixed, that's locked, that was good, right? It's just this actual costs for Daisy and what this kind of comes in at, right? So
what I'm a little bit even more confused. So you're saying this Daisy, this 16 cents is the recovery from November through February.
Well, it's two things. As Denise said, it covers it recoups the under recovery through February, and it's also a projection of Daisy program costs for the balance of the contract term. So it's two parts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you still have an estimate in there going forward.
Right.
For the next 3 years. So what you're saying, you're going to true up that at some point in the future, or you're going to come up with a better projection, or the rates could change again?
Yeah, so it is likely that the rate will change again, but as we said, that our expectation is it's going to be a favorable change this time, because again, the ISO is committing to change the program design to bring the costs down. The estimate that's built into this rate change that's happening this coming month, that's based on program experience to date. We nor your supplier are making any guesses on what the outcome of the ISO's changes are going to be. But the heat is on them clearly to lower the cost of this program. So our expectation, there's a lot goes into this, of course. We could have insane weather patterns again that complicates things, but all else, if the ISO is successful in bringing down the program cost, then the next rate adjustment should be in the downward direction.
Okay, so that's positive.
And
So
that will
what
be
you're-
converting it to fixed. That will be
Yes.
converting it to fixed. So beyond
Right.
that, you'll be good on
The
Daisy.
next rate adjustment would convert it to fixed and in your best estimation would bring it down a little bit. So that the 16, that one, whatever that is, the 1 mil or the, I'm not very good with mills, but, was a
so I
generous
just wanted to
projection.
clarify, when you
Yeah,
say
go on.
convert to fix,
Mhm.
because as a completely naive to all these
Right.
technical issues, I had thought that the original rate was fixed. Okay, now I'm just putting my consumer hat on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope. That's valid.
So now you're saying you're gonna, I was following you along and that you're gonna come back to us with a better projection, but then you said it's gonna convert to fixed. Tell me what that means.
Sure.
And tell me how fixed is fixed.
Oh, valid question. So you had a fixed rate, but I understand what you're saying. It was fixed rate with a 6 mil projection for Daisy, right? Which we figured was more than ample. So there might have been a rate adjustment. We initially thought it was going to be down. But this will take out that estimate the next time. That will take out this estimate that's in there that allows the cost recovery. And Daisy will be fixed for the duration of the contract. So it won't be able to be adjusted. It won't have a bogey in it for Daisy, and it won't be able to be adjusted from the time we do that until the end of the contract.
So who follow up on that? Who absorbs the risk by fixing
After
the
After
price of
that,
it? Yeah.
the supplier.
Okay. And so are the contracts you're talking about, are they with the supplier or are they with the municipalities?
Right. The electric service agreement that we're talking about that was signed is between the municipality and the supplier for the aggregation rates. So the supplier wasn't taking any, assuming any risk on Daisy. Like everything else was fixed, energy, et cetera. This ancillary, the specific charge, there was a cost recovery provision in the contract that allowed the supplier to come back for any under collection or, either way, right? But after we convert the contract to fully fixed with Daisy, for fully fixed on Daisy, I mean, the supplier will take any risk. So if there was something it would shoot up, they would be on the hook for that. They have to pay ISO New England that amount. Does that make sense?
Okay. I'm not as familiar as you are, but it seems like with risk, there's cost. And if the supplier gets hit with unacceptable risk, then that throws things.
Well,
They'll find a way. They'll find
no,
a way.
I mean, not on this cost.
It's complicated. I get it. Yeah.
You just,
Okay, I think that's as much as we can know about this. Any other questions about?
well, now I
where we
guess,
are?
no, I have.
What we know, I mean, this is. what we
No,
know.
this is extremely helpful. Goes back to our role
Exactly.
and our issue around making sure that there's clear messaging and transparency to the end user and advising the town how best to do that. We're still struggling with this gap of the X hundred people that never received notification, and there's still keeps me up at night. Not seriously, but it's a problem. And now we have another messaging challenge, I think, around all this complexity. And that's where I think our role is in terms of saying, what should we be informing the end user about all this, and what's the best way to message it for full transparency and setting expectations around what's predictable and what's not predictable. And I think that's really where I want to end up with all this.
And
Do you agree with that?
I mostly agree with it. I
Okay.
think that, I had a conversation with Michael yesterday. I want to go back to what you're thinking about this as well. I agree. I don't disagree with the goal. I also don't want to create, right now, well, people haven't seen anything yet.
Right.
So they haven't seen
Well,
an
they've seen just
increase.
that there's a.
I think the one thing that we have that is a guarantee in our contract is free opt-in, opt-out, no penalty.
Absolutely. Yep.
And if someone wants to, I think, I think if you go back to what's the purpose of an aggregation, in some ways, it's that, and going way, way, way back, it's the hardest thing. The hardest cost is to recruit a customer. So the aggregation takes, and the easiest thing, and which is why a lot of people have been scammed, is to retain a customer because they don't look at the bills afterwards and they pay more and more and more. So the aggregation, the benefit is that you don't have to pay a marketing fee to recruit them. They're just in the aggregation. I think that, do we want to promote the aggregation while the cost is still higher than the utilities? Probably not, because it's hard to market something that's more expensive.
I wasn't suggesting.
No, I know that. I'm just saying.
Timing.
No, I'm just saying that I think we should hold on that until August. And that, that would be, so that's one part of it. The second part on the transparency, I mean, on the town, there's the big banner that says the cost will go up. The reality probably is that for a $350 an electric bill at 600 kilowatt hours for an extra $350, most people aren't going to go back to National Grid and then come back, and most people aren't going to monitor it. So in the real world, I don't think there's a lot of need to make it more than it is, which is a drag. I mean, it's mostly a drag in that we didn't understand that and people didn't understand that. And then this was a casualty of the weather and Colonial, or the town's contract, which I guess the town was aware of and we weren't. So if we wanted to do something, I would say, in my mind, it would be a very sort of targeted to a very simple thing, which is that you might notice a slight increase in your bill or not. And if you want to, if you're very concerned, you can always go back and forth. But National Grid goes out every 6 months, and we're basically, unless there's another, I don't even know if we want to say unless there's another regulatory change, because I think the provision of the contract is still that if there's a new regulatory change, there would be a contract change, correct?
Something other than Daisy, there's always a chance that there's a change in law during a term of a contract. And
There's a
that's
change.
noted on
Okay.
our website and on the mailings that go out that, it's an unforeseen. You don't, federally or state, if there's a
Okay.
change in contract.
Yeah.
So pending any unforeseen change in law,
Right.
at this point, based on our conversations with Colonial Power, we don't expect the rate to increase anymore. And if anything, we're hopeful that it'll even be reduced a fraction. Would that be accurate?
Yeah,
Sure,
I
I
think
think
so. I
that's-
mean, one thing that's helpful is just back on any possible new regulatory change. I mean, as I'm sure you're all aware, I mean, there's so much pressure on policymakers at the state and the federal level to not do anything to increase costs. Now, the DAISY program was a debacle, but setting that aside, I just can't imagine anyone's going to increase RPS requirements or clean energy standard requirements right now. And even at the federal level too. So I think the chances of a new regulatory event that increases costs is just hard to imagine.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing, Laura, is that there's no need to do anything, what you're proposing and suggesting, there's no need to do anything proactively right now.
Go on, I'm listening.
I'm trying to read back what I heard. There, we have the banner. People have been informed passively of the banner. I'm assuming there's an FAQ opportunity on your site, on the Colonial site.
I don't know exactly what Mike shared, but we have it at the top of our page. It's just a short 2-page announcement. We try to make it, this is a complicated topic, so.
Right, and so there's an explanation of some level, again,
Yes.
that people could go to if they really felt they needed to know.
Yep.
And that to just hit the pause button on any act of communication, even even, let me just
Oh, I'm
add,
listening.
addressing the gap, the 400 person gap until August. That's sort of where you're at. And I agree with you. $3.50 is not a big deal. It's not
Right.
enough. It's not enough to stir the pot.
Right.
I think it's $7.50, not
But the
3.50.
difference would
The
be.
difference from National Grid is 3.5.
Okay.
It's a 7.5 increase, but if you were to flip back at 3.5.
3.5 more, which is, no, 7.5 is significant. No, I don't have a strong, I think we should defer on the trying to reach out and recruit people until we know what the August rate. This is my opinion. I'm gonna defer to the group on doing something
clarify.
small, on doing something about the rate increase. I'm sort of neutral on that. If we could write something that would let people know that if they're, I think I don't know. I think we can,
My gut is aligned with you. I think
Yeah.
doing less is more right now.
Yeah.
Because not only because of this conversation, but just knowing what's on people's minds from a political perspective right now. It's just so dynamic to try and, message it in a way that people can take home and file away is going to be difficult during certainly until the elections.
right.
And I'm certainly not trying to say it's good that the standard is over. I'm just saying, but remember, it's still not an apples to apples in Stockbridge because you have the additional local recs in your pricing. So if they were to go to National Grid and add that on for National Grid, I didn't do the math, but it would likely be more than what the town is currently over. So it's not like it's a RPS to RPS situation. Not that I'm trying to make it okay. I'm just
No,
adding
it's
that in.
no, and I think that's really important. And I kind of think, and as a committee exploration, I want to look again at the Rex issues and things like that. When I spoke to Mark way back when, I had said I wanted to, the Rex is always an open discussion about the value of Rex. And I think I'm sort of shifting to saying that the Rex system is broken. And, with the compliance payments and everything else. So I'm just trying to think in my own mind. And Mark said that he would be that you guys, since Recs are bought in arrears anyway, it's not really something that the supplier has to deal with. And if we wanted to, at some future date, we could talk about maybe making some changes in our program. And that you would be helpful in that and responsive to that. So just to know that, it's a work in progress for our town.
Agreed.
Okay. But but I really will defer to the group. I know when I talked to Michael yesterday, he said he wasn't planning on doing anything further. And that if we wanted to, we could. I'm very like, I feel like we're a resource to the town and we want to take our guidance and we don't necessarily want to be out there doing things on our own unless we want to. And that's our choice as a committee, but I'm a little bit more, let's let it play out a little bit more and see how things go and have our understanding and be able to give advice.
I just paid my grid bill with the 14.75 rate.
Oh, you did?
That came out. What I wasn't aware of is and this is on the distribution side, there's something called mass winter relief that was sized.
The governor's discount, So 25% off your entire electric bill for February and March.
Yeah, it was significant. In my case, it was $55.
But they're going to recoup that.
Well, yeah, of course.
And that is another reason for the timing with the March adjustment. We kind of thought that through when we.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's, I know.
Yeah.
All right. But Neil, do you have anything to?
I lean towards basically what Steve is saying and I also just think of it from a marketing standpoint, is that like, if we don't have something solid to stand on to market, it's going to be a piece of paper that, people are just going to toss in the garbage. And I think we need to wait until there's something, again, from a marketing standpoint, that we have something solid to stand on and that we can pitch it in a one page. It makes sense. boom, okay, yes, I want to do it, or no, I don't want to do it, or I don't feel like we're there.
Yeah, I don't think we're there. I think what I could, if I'm, anyone could do this. If you wanted to draft, and maybe you could do this too, Denise, that's something that we wouldn't use, but just to kind of summarize on the marketing side, the simplest summary of what we think and what we understand, and something that's both honest and reassuring, I guess is what I would want to say. That, you know, we're, as a group of citizens, we're trying to stay informed. We don't think this is going to be, you know, if someone, you know, anyway, I don't know. I want to think about it. You might want to think about it. You like to put things down on paper. But just to be, I might just do it for myself, you know, just to be a little bit prepared in case something does come up. But otherwise, I think this has been really helpful.
Best.
Yeah.
You would.
And any other, and so we'll hold for a month. And then we'll revisit this in March.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to summarize it for internal
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
consumption, and then with something in front of us, we could decide, is this something that Michael would entertain having on the town website? Again,
Right.
as a passive go-to for someone that really
Yeah.
wanted to drill down and say, help me understand what's going on. But not to do it proactively. I'm
Right.
completely,
I
I think
think,
we're all in violent agreement here.
okay, let's do that. Okay, very good. I want to thank you, give our warm wishes to Mark,
Pulled
who
down
couldn't be here. And
their explanation.
it's good to, thank you for showing up and being responsive. That's appreciated.
Of course, anytime. Thank you for having us.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Denise. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye. Or you're welcome to stick around.
They have work to do.
Okay, yeah.
They're not like us, voluntary.
Right. Okay, so that was a good conversation. That was very positive. Do you want
That's
to,
helpful.
let's kind of go, since we have another guest here, let's talk with Jim. And then I can bring you up to date on the climate assistance grants and we can talk about the air quality.
I'd like to
You want to follow up?
do the air quality right after Jim.
Yeah, we can do that.
May be something
They could
with
tie it.
tri-town interest.
Okay. Jim, you can come up to the table or come up closer to, I don't know if Miles can see you. Miles is a member of
So-
my committee.
The soul,
I can see. Yep.
Those
Okay.
don't know me, I'm Jim Willis, I'm the executive director for the Tri-Town Health District. Tri-Town Health covers Lee, Lennox, and Stockbridge. And we're the oldest health district in this Commonwealth. We started in 1929, sharing services. I think we built the model on sharing of services, which is picking up a lot of momentum. But we are responsible for public health and safety in our communities. We do a lot. Laura invited me here just to introduce myself and to listen, and more interested in attending your meetings if it sees fit. I know in some of the other communities that I work with, their green communities are a little bit different. Lennox has an environmental committee. Lee has kind of repurposed itself to the Greener Gateway community, and I interact with them on a variety of things. About 10 years ago, we worked with all three towns to implement Board of Health regulations on eliminating the single-use plastic bags. We have a regulation on that. We eliminated the polystyrene in food establishments and things like that. And so never really worked with this group, and I don't know what the actual scope is of this, but one of the things I emailed Laura is, we're seeing a lot of our establishments still trying to sell single-use plastic bags, which is a Board of Health regulation. We kind of oversee that and make sure that they're not. We're seeing this trend where these compostable bags are being implemented in lieu of the single-use plastic bags, and I'm no plastics expert. Sometimes I'll bring some of these products to the other communities, committees to look at. For example, compostable bags technically is an alternative, but unless you have the perfect conditions, they actually don't break down. And so the whole goal, environmentally speaking, and it is a public health issue. It affects the environment and whatnot. I'm not sure if that's within your scope yet, but I did email Laura our regulations. All our stuff is on the website. That's something that you're intrigued in kind of reviewing and learning more from it. I'm more than happy to share that with you. We also administer the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program. We've been doing that a long time. Our next event is May 16th at the Stockbridge Great Barrington Transfer Station. We'll be working on that flyer soon. We ask everyone to pre-register. That's something that we have 17 towns that participate in. It's been going on for a long time. The volume that we collect, and we do 2 events a year. We collect massive amounts of waste at that event. I think since the pandemic, it's actually like tripled in volume count. I think a lot of the city folks had moved up and then decided to stay through the pandemic. But it's amazing the amount of gallons that we still collect with 2 events a year. We kind of alternate. We do one in Lee, then we do one in Great Barrington. We kind of do one in the spring, one in the fall. It's very expensive. That's why having a model of sharing resources makes sense, because one town can't afford a collection. You got to have minimum volume and whatever. And so, I think we collect between like 5,000 and 6,000 gallons of waste a year with all the South County towns. So it's going really, really strong, and it's getting more expensive, but the towns are willing, to contribute their share of the costs. And that's really it. Just put a face to the community. I'm more than happy to come to your meetings and listen in. And I've been in my position for 20 something years. I've been around a long time. I've still got a few more years left, but we do a lot in South County. We expanded into some of the other South County towns on a public health nursing program. We have shared inspectors helping some of the South County towns out, while we still have the core of the tri-town functions and our priorities and stuff. So
I think that, in my opinion, I think that the waste issue is a big issue. It's not the domain of this committee. It's not within our sort of mandate or whatever. I would love to see there be actually a sustainable committee or a waste committee or a bigger mandate.
Yeah.
But it's not here right now.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I think that here's what I think that you should be writing and I think that someone should be publicizing, like more like doing that regular waste education on recycling and hazardous waste and alternatives. And just, I think for every single thing that goes on in town, there's such a community education component, even on climate change.
Yeah.
The cheapest, easiest, quickest BTU to save is recycling. You don't have to create more steel if you put your thing in your tin cans or whatever. It's so important, but I don't think it's our bandwidth of us 5 people. So that's the only thing. That would be I don't know what else to say about that. Other thoughts?
Well, I think communication and education can always be within our province, Laura, if we chose it to be so.
Right.
And if we had the town's blessing to do so. We have to determine what's the imperative, what's the need. I don't even know, it'd be interesting to know, and there's no way to find out, what is the compliance rate in the town of Stockbridge for both hazardous waste and recycling? I would imagine it's relatively high, but who's got the data? We don't.
Yeah, that's tough data to extrapolate.
Tough data to, And where is the need to educate other than just the the
No,
principles.
I think we know the recycling rate. We can get that from the MRF, can't we?
Yes and no. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And I think when Laura, we I've known Laura for a long time through the old CT days, and I used to work for the state of Pittsburgh 100 years ago. And I don't think me coming here was to ask the committee. It was more like just, I'd be more than happy to update the committee. It's, I run a comprehensive health department. We do a lot of reporting. We do some education. We actually oversee, since there's no municipal waste collection systems and stuff, kind of everything's private. We also have regulations requiring recycling for our waste haulers. There's DEP regulations that things are banned from the solid waste stream, but we actually license our waste haulers on a calendar year through the health department that puts them responsible for complying. If we get a complaint one day that someone decided to put their single stream recycling in the same truck as the solid waste, that triggers us to go after, and try to deal with that. We did put regulations in place a few years ago before the pandemic that requires, they have to require recycling bins, even if there's a cost to the consumer. The homeowner or renter, or whoever, commercial business can't just say, well, recycling's too expensive, just give me a solid waste bin. Haulers are required to offer that dual use. It's required by law. So we'll run into that. As far as like the household hazardous waste stuff, it's a program that we sort of took over. We used to pay CT a long time ago to kind of administer it. And then they kind of pulled out, and then we were going to give it all up. And then I said, wait a minute, I think this is really important. I'll take it over, and kind of revamped it to make it more sustainable for the towns. But you will never really know what the tonnage of volume is. Although with the solid waste and recycling, not everyone brings it to the MRF, based on the market and the cost. They'll bring it to B3, they'll bring it here. But we do ask for tonnage reports for the previous calendar year. So we do get that data, although I think some of it's underreported, but we'll never know. I think the rates are kind of low where they need to be. But without a municipal collection system, we're kind of stuck dealing with a Board of Health permit with all the different haulers. And we're seeing, we have a couple large haulers, and now we're starting to see some of the more independent kind of floating their way into South County, but they're held to the same standard. I have to, what they charge their customers, they still have to offer that. But we're also not a solid waste district like some of these other communities, like in Northern Berkshire. The health department took on the household hazardous waste just to make sure it works. We pay the bills and coordinate, but we're not. Our mandate's also not a solid waste district where we kind of like go crazy on all the environmental stuff. We'll do our part and stuff, and we do education. We have board meetings, we have Board of Health meetings all the time. We have newsletters, we have websites, we annual reports, we put all that out there. And so I'm more than happy to give you updates from time to time, just to let you know what we're doing and stuff. And
You also mentioned, in addition to the stuff that you did historically with the cooperation of the towns, you mentioned that you've interacted with the individual, like the environmental committee in Lennox.
Yeah.
So are there examples of things that you've done with them that we might consider for us?
The biggest example is like Lennox has an environmental committee, and I haven't met with them in a while, and I think they still meet, but I don't really hear from them. Lee used to be like a environmental committee, then they kind of repurposed themselves, renamed themselves as the Greener Gateway Committee. And they do a lot of different things with their stuff. And how I kind of started working with them many years ago is when the momentum was picking up with the elimination of the plastic bags. And so I got into that because I wanted like a similar regulation for the Tri-Town district. I try not to have something separate in Lee, something different in Lenox, something different in Stockbridge, because we oversee those three towns from a health department perspective. It's easier for the consumer, the community, and staff to have similar regulations. And so, and I felt there was a place for us to be involved in that, because it's pretty disgusting out there seeing plastic bags in trees, and just, it's pretty bad. And so I started working with all three of those committees. Although Lee went in a different direction, they decided to do a town bylaw, which was pretty comprehensive. But I wanted to take that role on and say, with their work, with their help and support and their perspective, I'll create a regulation that meets the needs of the environmental committee and the town. And that's kind of like the role that we played, and we developed this regulation. And it's a little bit complicated because it's like 10 years later, there's all these alternatives out there. There's bioplastics, there's compostable bags, and I'm not a plastics
But
guy.
beyond the plastic bag, there's nothing currently that we're doing that we would want to consider.
No, and I think
Beyond that.
each committee is unique in its own right. And,
Sure.
you know, depending on what your scope is and what you're interested in. And I'm just really here to offer what we're doing, and you know, face to the name. And I have an open door policy. Anyone wants to swing by and talk environmental stuff, or you need my support in anything, I'm here to do whatever you need.
I think that's terrific. Do you want to just move into the conversation about because I
Unless
think,
anybody had anything else. I mean, yeah, because I do think the air quality monitor is maybe an opportunity to do something new.
Yeah.
New and different. And that could be beneficial. It really fits very well into,
Yeah.
you know, your mandate as a Board of Health.
I have a question for Jim just before then, if I could. Where does the bulk of the town's waste go to? Where landfills or wherever? Where are they located?
I see a lot of the data is the Canaan B3 location. A lot of it doesn't go to the MRF. And I think that the market dictates on, you know, tonnage and tipping fees and stuff like that.
But
you know, the Lennox Valley does a bunch of different things. When they separate things out, but the private haulers, I see them going to Canaan a lot.
but B3 is, I used to see when it was, now it's a solar installation.
Yeah.
Where's the transfer station?
I don't
Is it
know
not there?
exactly
It's
where,
not there,
but-
but it's,
And we can't regulate that. Many
Right.
years ago, when we were getting into the regulatory world, it was too legislatively complicated for me to dictate, oh, you're required to go to Springfield and Murph, and because the market demands on what, you know, cost, fuel, this, that, tonnage. And now we're seeing a lot of these clean out companies doing things on the side, and doing home clean outs, and we're seeing roll off dumpsters. Based on the tonnage reports from like Casella and stuff, they're bringing it to New York and
right.
stuff.
They're not separating that demolition, that dumpster demolition.
I mean, we get the DEP rates and all the things that they're doing at the Lennox Valley, because DEP permits that, and we get copies of that stuff. There's like sanitary survey, third-party inspections and stuff, but it's a mix. But when you don't have a municipal-led program kind of pushing the MRF to get the bounce back costs, it makes it different.
I have a question. Do you have just a basic idea, of how many Stockbridge residents do private hauling versus go to the transfer station? I can't remember how many.
I don't have that data.
I know it's easy to get the number of permits that are sold.
Yeah, so when we issue a permit, it's to the hauler, it's not to the individual.
Right.
So there's that. You could talk to the town and see what they're looking at for the number of transfer stickers that
Yeah,
maybe they
I think we could
purchase,
look at transfer
and
stickers
compare
and
that to
then
number of
households,
households.
exactly,
'Cause I
yeah.
would think that
There'll be a little overlap, but not.
would be, you know, you may get some people that have private hauling and then go, you know, then goes to the transfer station. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Okay. yeah, I mean, I think ways, as I say, there's so much that could be done in terms of education and publicity and how it brings the town in money. And I mean, there's so much that people would, they're clueless about. It just, you generate it, it goes here and then it goes somewhere else.
Yeah, and we did roll out a comprehensive sharps collection program too in South County. We have
Oh, yeah, right
11,
here.
the South County towns that we help support. We have 11 sharps kiosks out of 12 towns that are taking sharps out of the waste stream now and into the right location. So we have a sharps kiosk downstairs. That's our program.
Yeah.
And is there also a thing for drugs downstairs, like a pill where you can
Police
put-
departments will typically have the drug take back
Yeah,
things that.
yeah, I think they have that too.
That we can't do that legally. It's a controlled substance law thing.
Right. Okay. So any other questions, thoughts?
Do we want to segue into air quality?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So, I just saw an Eagle article
Yeah.
about what Lennox had done to acquire these air quality monitors free of charge from the state through a grant program. And I just brought it to this committee, said, is this something that we're interested in doing?
Yeah.
And so, it's a no-brainer since it's free. But I did reach out to Lennox and, they gave me some information as to why they did it. And it was probably prompted by the river cleanup
Yeah.
efforts. And they just wanted to have some way to perhaps reassure themselves and reassure the citizens that nothing amiss was happening, but it's also a consideration of, climate change and air quality in the future,
Yeah.
especially with the wildfires and their influence. So I think, Laura, you talked to Michael Canellis and he said, no problem.
He said that I think if we got the monitors, he would find places to install them.
So I guess since you're here, Jim, it just opens up the opportunity. And I guess Eamon from Lennox in the email to me suggested that, maybe there's something in the future we could do to work with Tri-Town.
Yeah.
If we and Lennox and Lee also got these air quality monitors, we'd have an opportunity to create a Tri-Town database.
Yeah. Yeah.
And an actively ongoing monitoring of air quality, establish our baselines, see what it does during periods of UDF construction and river cleanup, independent of what they're going to be doing to monitor, which is part of their, plan. And it also allows us an opportunity during periods in the future when air quality may be an issue for us to have the data in real time. So I didn't know whether that's something that we'd want to entertain. And
So I'm familiar with the program. So I think Lennox kind of did their own thing and they don't need my blessing to put. DEP's been offering the air quality sensor program for quite some time. It's a really easy application. And each town kind of does their own thing. What I'm not clear on, and I'll talk to Eamon, but I don't know what the parameters are on these air quality sensors. I think it's like particulate matter, maybe carbon dioxide. I don't know. And I don't actually know where the data lies. I don't know if there's a website to look at that. I'm not against air quality sensors. I think the more information we can collect, environmentally speaking, makes it worth our while. But I'm not sure it actually will track PCB, particulate matter, during the dome construction. If that were the case, we would have pushed for that a long time ago. But we wanted, it'd be helpful to know what the parameters are so we can collect that data. And then we want to look at baselines and stuff. What is the baseline per parameter and stuff? Because I actually haven't seen any of the data on some of these sensors.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, I can also be.
So we just don't know how it
I just
actually.
don't know. I could be also, I also have a lot going on.
But if we were to do that, if we were to look at the parameters and we said this meets, this is sufficient to meet a need, however we define that need, would that be something that Tri-Town would be interested in doing?
Absolutely. I think what we want to think about strategically is how many monitors we can get, where to put them.
Right.
And I don't know the answer to that, but we may want to think about that.
Do you think, I think I looked a little bit, I didn't really look very deeply, but I looked at just what they require in the application, because I didn't really want to set up a login and this and that, too lazy. But the application does say, what's your plan? So I think that's the piece, like, what is our plan? Who are you going to work with and what are you going to do? And,
But Jim's right. We need to understand what the monitors do before we can tell what the plan is. What it is capable of providing, what data is it capable of providing? And then we get into location and who's then going to be responsible for collecting and reviewing data. And, so what would you suggest as a way forward? Because I'd be perfectly willing from this committee to start having the conversation about looking into that. And to determine if something could actually come out of this, because in an ideal, let's assume that these monitors do what you want them to do.
Right.
It's a great opportunity,
Sure. Yeah.
to have that in our back pocket.
Yeah.
At relatively low cost and resource.
So Laura, I think, who is this committee or like Mike's office that would be submitting the grant application?
I think it has to be, it would have to be the town or a nonprofit, or you could be Tri-Town.
Yeah, and we're part of.
You could do it easily. It would be perfect if
We
you
would
did.
need to figure out who the contact is for that and like what the parameters are. Because like say they give us like 4, I wouldn't know exactly where to put them to get the most effort out of that, and the town would have to put them up, and I would think it would have to be on town property or something.
In my mind, since I know nothing, so about monitoring it, it would seem that one of the things that what we'd want to be monitoring is if there's any, whatever you call it, particulate fly off from the trucks. So you'd want to be on some of the main thoroughfares to say what's going on with dust or this or that. So that would be one place. I don't know. It seems like, when you're dealing with PCBs, and whether is a PCB a particulate? Would that? It's not really.
It'll show up.
It'll show up as a PM 2.5.
Yeah.
Or PM 10. That was in the EPA. Requirement for the Russell River cleanup, and they specified in their plan what the thresholds were and everything using historical standards. And again, we're not trying to do what they're trying to do. This is to supplement. And I'm thinking even more long term. I'm not thinking about Russell River cleanup. I'm thinking about ambient air during wildfires being more of an issue. And since we don't have any particular industry like next to a power plant, I think, randomly set up is probably good enough to start with. You get the data, and if there are gaps, then you can always readjust afterwards. It's more about what the monitors are actually measuring and whether that information is going to be useful to us.
Is there air quality monitoring taking place right now in Stockbridge, or where's the local?
The only thing is meteorological data, and right above, you can look out the window. Maybe you can't see it from this room, but right above.
The police department has that.
The anemometer.
But I don't know if there's air quality.
I think.
No. It's just meteorological.
Okay, so there is the air quality.
But I would think that would be a location that would make sense to air quality as well.
I just wanted to mention that Steve's is a doctor whose interest is just
Out of college or something.
non-college, and, you know.
I'm interested in obviously environmental impact on health.
Absolutely.
And so therefore, this, I'm very data oriented.
Yeah.
Because I'm a research physician. So
Yeah.
this is right in my wheelhouse. So that's why I'd be willing to sort of see if we can make this,
Fully understand and respect, and we have doctors on our Tri-Town board, and we were pushing hard against GE about their first transportation plan. So
Yeah.
we actually took EPA to task
yeah.
and pushed for more hydraulic and less trucking and stuff. And so we're all on board on that. Look, the more data we have,
The worst case scenario is that we'll have data.
yes.
And the worst case scenario is that it's also a positive PR to the community.
Yeah.
That the towns are also, we're not just relying on what GE is doing.
Yeah.
We're doing our own thing too.
And that's long-term. I like that part of it too.
Long-term.
You know, I think first of all, here's what I would say now that we know this program's been in effect forever, there's probably no deadline. You know, we're not up against the
Right.
deadline. So if you
do it right.
if you can take the lead on this, and as you have some time.
Yeah, we have Mike's, the town should submit the grant application.
Yeah, but I think
And
we
listen
should
to
investigate
content.
it first.
Yeah.
Know what we're getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know, because I know like when this came up a few years ago and I opined on it, like, well, great, people are going to just throw monitors up and no one's going to look at anything and just move on. And then DP's like, oh, we put monitors up in Lee. But I know I may be ignorant on the subject, but I don't even know where to look for the data on any existing.
I just wanted, because I was watching, it's in the application, there's a couple of videos you can.
Was there? Okay.
And they explain, where, and it's relatively simple because it's all Wi-Fi based. Wherever you install them, there needs to be Wi-Fi access.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So once they're installed, it should be a matter of just finding the right, location, and it should all be there.
Sure.
And even I was surprised. I'm like, well, so who's going to install these things? Because I'm envisioning, pretty complicated devices, and they're like zip tying them to handrails. I mean, they're really pretty simple. They need power.
Yeah.
So, but it's relatively simple, which I was pretty surprised about that.
Our low solar.
Wi-Fi, huh?
Yeah, just, so on this building would be a piece of cake,
Yeah.
Transfer station, I would imagine.
Transfer
So Lee and
station.
Lex they don't have any internet, so they got.
They got five monitors.
But yeah, I mean, I have a contact at DEP too. It's just, usually the town will go through it because they have to coordinate the installation, and I have no idea where that would go. But I would want to figure out strategically, like where in Stockbridge we would want to put them.
So I can, so what's the next step would be, you and I can talk offline about the parameters. What do we need to know?
Yeah.
And then, whether you want to start floating the idea back to Tri-Town
Yeah.
and see if Lee and Lennox want to.
Lennox has
Well, yeah,
some
so-
monitors.
They have them, but again, I'm trying to,
Right.
do we want to coordinate it
Yeah.
through all three townships? So we have a database for all three together. That would be under the Tri-Town umbrella. That would be whether you want to take that on.
Yeah, and
ultimately or not.
And I can bring that at the Tri-Town Board of Health meeting. So Tri-Town, all three boards meet collectively as one board. We're actually having an April meeting, and I'll reach out to Lee because if Lee and Lennox already put them in, they never told me. Not that they're required to. It's just I think people would just throw them up and say, "Oh, great."
I'm just,
get out there.
I'm really just taking from Eamons and I forwarded it to you.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
He's sort of saying it would be nice if Tri-Town could take this on in the future. So they're all,
Yeah, it would have been really great if I knew they were in.
Right. And the other piece I think now to find out is like, well, what has Lennox found out, and are they monitoring it, and who's
they
monitoring it?
they just got them.
Yeah.
If they even installed them yet, who knows?
Okay, so that would be, yeah.
Yeah, but let's figure out what data it provides first.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Because
to know.
if we think that it's not going to be useful data, then let's not bother.
It could be really comprehensive, or it could be very generic, particulate matter. Like, what's that mean? Like, if it just measures this particulate matter in the environment, what does that?
Or can it feed into national databases like the American Lung Association
Right, I was just
has an air
wondering
quality
what's,
index national database by county. I don't know where they get it from this county. I can look into that.
Particularly this county because, it's from Vermont to Connecticut. It's a lot of different things going on, so.
Okay, I'm going to just leave this in your court, and you're going to continue to
So
get more information, gather information.
gather more information. We won't do anything until we have more information.
Right,
All right,
yeah.
great. Well, nice meeting everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, nice to see you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
cool.
Yeah, we meet at this time, same place, either here or
Yeah,
there.
cool.
The second Tuesday. You want me just to add you to our email list?
Sure, yeah. If people are interested on, the plastic backing, we're more than happy.
Yeah, I think that was something. Did you want to talk to us more about that or not?
Oh,
really?
it's not on the agenda, so
Okay.
maybe if the committee's interested, I'd be more than happy to come back and chat about that.
Okay.
All right, have a great day.
Hey, you too. Thank you.
Jim.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Okay, I'll have to write this up somehow. Okay, the last,
So I'm going to just.
Yeah, go for it.
a second. I received this yesterday. It's a Next Camp. It's exclusive of National Grid customers. Save 15% annually while helping the planet, blah, blah, blah. And I assume, because I don't know much about, there's two things. One, if you know what this is. Secondly, to me, from a marketing standpoint, if we're going to market anything, it needs to look something like this, where there's just, I don't know if you can see,
is
anyways.
that marketing?
Well, it's so basically, it's as a National Grid customer, you can now lower your electricity costs by enrolling in Next Camp Community Solar, a program providing solar. So, the point is it's something like this is going to grab people's attention. And if we can bullet information, boom, 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 it's all like right here, like one page or less, a card. It's what it needs to look like. Because this is
National Grid has credibility no matter what.
yeah. Right. So boom, you get that. It's both visual and ease, and it's a marketing thing.
All right.
But anyways,
I haven't seen it. I'll
yeah, I think
keep an eye
I
out
got
for
it yesterday. Yes. Anyway, so I'm, sounds good. They give you a $50 Visa gift certificate too if you sign up. Anyways, we're not going to do that, but that's just food for thought. And if we get to a point where we can, I'd be happy to help put something together that.
If there's when and if we want to.
Exactly.
Great. Very good. It's an offer we won't refuse.
Yeah, because it's all about marketing.
I think so. Marketing, everything is. Should we talk about the Climate Leader Technical Assistance Grant? We finally, that is at this point moving forward, which is incredible. You missed the meeting. We met with me and Mike, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a follow-up meeting with Select Energy, and that's the organization that provides, it's sort of the authorized organization to provide solar for municipalities. That's all they do. And then they have different financing or whatever. And I think what Michael's confusion is like, the timing and when the grant deadlines are and how many things can you have open and do we need to apply for the technical assistance? But anyway, as it turns out, we can apply for the $1 million to install solar. And I will send you all now, it's not confidential, but it's not like, just to look at, if you want to look at the pro formas and the designs of the system, I'll send this out to all of you. The plan is Michael is going to, first he has to go to the select board and get their approval because this is now, I'm not being very logical. They want a letter of intent so that they can move forward. The grant deadline is August 7th, but there's a lot that can happen before that to prepare for it. One of the things is that there's a 10% match from the town. So if we're going to apply for $1 million, we would have to have at least 1.x. The system would cost more than $1 million. So someone has to come up with that difference, and that would be the town. That's the tentative plan right now. Michael wants to ask at town meeting, I think for 250,000, which would cover probably about 40,000 upfront, maybe an upfront costs, plus the difference in the installation. I don't have those figures on the top of my head. But the good part about that is that once installed, once we have it operating, the solar would save the town about almost 100,000 a year. So it's about a 2-year payback on an investment of $1 million. So it would be pretty incredible. And the system would power, it would be a roof mount on the DPW building, and then 2 ground mounted arrays in the floodplain. So part of the process is going to the Conservation Commission and making sure that's all in order and we get their blessing. And those would power the water treatment and the wastewater treatment. So it'd really be sized for those 3 uses. And we're going to work between now and August. So it's the select board meeting, it's town meeting, it's some stuff. And then it's having the application go in August, and then they would install it and the town would own it. The cool thing about it, I think Michael's biggest concern from the town perspective is, well, just like with the streetlights, is the town of Stockbridge competent or able or have the bandwidth to manage a big solar array? And what Select does is for about, I think the first year they do it for free. And then every year after that, it's about $4,000, I think $4,000 plus. We're $4,000 with a 3% escalator, and they'll manage everything. They monitor it, they manage it, they do everything that's not under warranty. And then the other cost is you have to add it to your insurance policy. And I think that was about $2,000 a year. So the carrying cost would be about $6,000 a year or something like that. They're the unanticipated, but ideally everything is either covered by insurance. The inverters are warranted for, I don't know if it's 10 or something years, and the panels for 20 years. And then after, I think about 20 years, the numbers don't hold me to them, but they're approximate, the town would own it.
That's a minor offset to the savings. The cost.
Oh, the town already owns it. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the other financing things. Yeah, the town owns it and they would monitor it.
Does the 200, I saw there was a select board meeting. I think I read a summary of it somewhere, maybe The Edge, but the $250,000, does that include the $150,000, the other grant?
No.
As I read, there was something about the town having to spend the money, but then recouping it.
No, they're all independent. The only thing I think is that we'll still be eligible at some future date to apply for $150,000 for technical assistance. So at some point, let's say for something else, like if we really want to look at this whole town building and do engineering specs and look at heating and whatever, we could apply for that. But right now, there isn't really anything, so we don't have to apply for the $150,000. In my mind, it's great that even to start with this in some ways, because we'll get those savings. That it's not like, I mean, in the ideal world, we'd actually take those savings and put them in a fund for other efficiency projects. That could be down the road, but but at least we know that the town will be saving the money. And whether it's overt or just implicit, I think that's a lot of money to be producing clean energy and saving that. And then actually the credits, whatever that we get from the solar at the old transfer station, can be then applied to other buildings. So it would all be really, I think, positive for the town. What else do I want to say? And then the only other thing was like, you can only have one grant open in the act at the time. So if we do the technical assistance grant, I don't think we can apply to something else until that's spent. I mean, this way we can be getting our savings sooner rather than later and then cover the other things that we need. anyway, that's the thinking, that's the plan right now. And mostly, I don't know and then I want to field your questions or concerns.
And I also, that didn't count the potential, I realize just potential, that there could be additional return from giving back to the grid if we had excess. There was
I
something
think
about
that, I think.
You don't
I think
figure
they-
that into this.
Yeah, you
into the
figure everything,
return,
you
but
figure everything.
that would be a-
figure
that would be
everything
a-
into the return.
Yeah.
I think you'll see it on the statements. I think everything is figured out into return.
You never know. You can't predict whether we'd have excess to give back and to sell back to the grid.
Oh, I don't think we'll have excess to sell back. It's,
Or
it's.
not to sell
it's-
back, to give,
Basically what it does is
reduces your,
it spins the meter backwards.
that's right. You don't
So
get
whatever
money
we're
for it, but you end up saving money
Right.
because it spins it back.
Right. You're not paying for electricity. You're just generating your
Could be
own.
more savings than this calculation
Um,
if the stars were aligned and the sun. and the-
I mean, it really depends on what the cost for electricity is, how much you save.
That's true.
And I think so everything is an estimate. Everything is a projection.
So do we anticipate that there'd be any pushback at the town?
I'm hoping not. I think the only pushback could be the Conservation Commission, but I don't think they will either. I mean, lots of things happen in wetlands. It's not a wetland, it's a floodplain.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I think that's what it is.
From a
It's
cost-
by the
From a
DPW.
cost perspective, you don't think they're, I mean, I'm just trying to.
I don't know.
Make sure that
I don't
this-
know. I don't know. I mean, it's, we don't know what they're going to say. I think it's just really,
So when it gets presented to the town, are we gonna also say what would be the impact if we didn't do this? In terms of, from a cost perspective?
I think in my mind, Michael will know exactly what to say to the town.
Okay.
I think the only other wild card would be the finance committee. Because the finance committee, when it gets us something, and that would have to do with that has to do with the town warrant. Because the finance committee either is neutral or recommends against. And Michael, I think, will just send it to them. And if necessary, he'll have a meeting with them. And I think really it lies with Michael.
Sure.
Because he can talk to the select board members either individually or beforehand and really have a different conversation. He can do the same
He
with
has
the
a good
finance committee.
understanding of what the cost would be if we didn't do it.
Absolutely. I mean, he said, I mean, I'm the one who goes like, 250,000,
But-
I gulped and he's like, no, it has a 2-year payback. This is, so I kind of have, he is the
You can look at
pulse
the
of
10-year
everybody.
financials and say,
Right.
this is what it is
Right.
with, and this is what it is without.
And he's very cautious. I mean, he was so, I would just say, careful about, even though we went through all of this so we could apply for $1 million so we could have a solar, it's like gulp, can we really own it? I mean, he just really thinks through a lot of the issues that we wouldn't think about. But he's making we only have to recommend to him. He has to recommend to the town and to the voters. And I said to him yesterday, I think that what really has to be emphasized again is that the voters, the citizens went through a lot of hoops for us to become a climate leader so that we would have this ability to do this. And there's no other town in Berkshire County that has the ability to apply for $1 million to own their own solar installation. I mean, this is the fruits of our labor, and it's very positive, but there's no guarantees.
I think to the point on the Conservation Commission, it'd be good to engage them early on with siting and looking at the layout compared to wetland boundaries, so that there's no surprises there.
Right.
And as
Because
part,
we wouldn't want to delay.
yeah,
We wouldn't want, even if they said, well, we
Right.
got to look at it and they delay it 6 months and it screws up our timing.
right.
That's a great.
That's a good point.
Well, to your
I think that's why I think, the letter of intent is the most, select, as soon as they get the letter of intent, they'll start work. And the work that they'll do will be to work with Michael. Then Michael goes to the select board, I think, and presents it and gets the authorization. He signs the letter of intent. Then he'll work with select to do all the pre-engineering and the permitting before an application goes through in August.
And the other issue is any solar installation, sometimes it's just visual. And I don't know if there's any leeway in terms of where it goes within this floodplain, but that's a question,
Good question too.
because sometimes people they don't want to see solar.
Right. I think that's great. That hasn't come up, but that's really important.
But
I'll send you.
co-located with the facility?
They're all located,
Waste treatment.
at the wastewater treatment.
Yeah, for me, it wouldn't be a problem, but you never
You're
know.
already looking at.
Behind it.
Right.
Right. Let me send that out to you and mention, and I'll send a, follow-up to Michael.
Could you, I want to get, because I know that there's the work that's going to be for the transfer station and, and upgrading the highway department. And how are these two things, are they connected? Is there any interface here? Is there any, again, maybe it's like, hey, since we're doing this, we should do that kind of question?
Yes and no. I think that, we can apply for, I think the other Green Communities grant we could apply for, which wouldn't be this, is to do the recommissioning of the highway department building, where an engineer looks over all those systems. And if we did that first, it would take 6 months to get a contract, and then it would put this off for a really long time. So we decided let's not put this off, because this is this.
So it might work in reverse, we have this solar now.
Right.
Now we have.
In the design of the highway, in the recommissioning, what they did in this design of the solar is with that awareness of issues possibly with the highway department, they designed it so that there's really good setbacks from any valleys in the roof and from the edge of the roof, and they're kind of centered. So I think they did what they could in that design.
Okay.
And then the next grant application, hopefully next spring, would be for the recommissioning of the highway department building itself. And that's as much of an answer as I know.
I think it just, I think just if one can help the other, great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think so. Okay. Anything else on that?
That was terrific.
Okay, yeah, I think it's good.
Really very cool.
And then and Michael did tell me I was wrong about this. I thought he was going to come to every meeting, because he did for a long time. But he's told me that no, he only said he would come as he's available. So I think we have to we're a little bit more on our own.
I've got to step up.
He's never available.
No, he will. He said he would come, and I said I really wanted him for the municipal aggregation conversation, but then I forgot. And I think we did fine. I think he's kind of right.
He knows it all.
I think we're okay on our own. On the EV charging, so we don't have any update on the products purchasing policy. Actually, in our conversation with Jim Leluce, I told him about that. We were looking about doing that. And his comment, which was so good, was, maybe the purchasing policy should also have something about proper disposal of batteries, and that the town shall dispose of everything.
Good idea.
So anyway, so I thought that I was just it was just another little glimmer of, okay, it's good when we connect with other people who have those thoughts in mind. Which I'm sure the highway department does, but it was still a good insight. The downtown lights, I think Michael is actually communicating with our, the guy we had, Robert Ide. I think he's been away for a while. So I think hopefully that's going to happen. And the town needs gap synergies with other organizations. I think maybe we should just take a break from that unless there's another organization that you want to kind of move forward with. And then, because it seems like, with between, I don't know, is there not, I don't know, I wanted to wait for Tim, but is there another town board or department?
Well, we had a whole list and none of this was on a timeline.
Yeah,
So, whatever, is there one where we want to reach out and learn more about them? I mean, this is
Yeah.
sort of a soft,
it's a soft thing.
go slow kind of thing.
Right.
And more casual, like if you bump into somebody from one of the other committees and you strike
Right.
up a conversation,
Right.
would it be worth having?
Right. Well, I'm always eager to find out what's happening with the composting pilot. I've been dropping off, believe it or not, my compost and my organic waste at Meadow Farm. Because they have a little, do you ever know that? Do you know there's a little side building there?
I mean, right here on 102, not.
No, not on 102, yeah, but on Meadow Farm, it's like on that road from here to Tyringham Road on that
Right.
triangle, that cutoff road.
Right.
And before you go into that, they have a little shed. And they say they're open from 9 to 4, but I think that door's always unlocked. And I just had too much organic waste and my thing was frozen. I didn't want to throw it away. And I thought, well, I'm just going to try this. And so I brought it and, you just empty it out of your plastic bale in a tub that you can't see and it takes meat and everything else. And then I took the plastic bag. There's no place to put that dirty, disgusting plastic bag. So it's, but anyway, and I think I thought that, and I think if and when the town comes up with a pilot project, that's probably where the compost of the hauler would take the waste. So it's sort of all here, and it would be great to have that option for residents at the transfer station, or to even know that if you don't want to have your compost pile, you could take it there. But so anyway, that's interesting to me. This is all on the waste side of things, and it's just, as I said, and I think well, actually, what's the name of their committee? The Something in Agriculture Committee, right?
Forest
and Agriculture. I don't think, I think all of our committees are in the same boat. We have our priorities and we're volunteers. So unless there's a champion volunteer of something, or it's a priority for the committee, it just can't happen. We don't have someone, no one. But I'm curious, that's on a personal level, I'm curious about that.
But that's under their auspices.
It's under their auspices, they've been working on it.
They're working on it. So.
And they're working on it, yeah.
And you have a communication link with.
I do, I could at some
Say,
point.
where is it,
Yeah.
But, the bigger picture, we had said we were gonna create this list of these other committees, and the whole goal was to establish opportunity to identify areas of gaps, an opportunity in areas of overlap, and see if there was anything more we can get out of partnerships, collaborations, synergies without stepping on people's toes.
Right,
Now, we can do it casually as we're doing it,
I think that's
or
good.
you can do it a little bit more formally, just for, you create a spreadsheet and you identify the committee and you just sort of have running commentary as to, areas of mutual interest. And you sort of check it off as we talk to them. And then we have a running list that we can go back to and review at the end of a year or two and say, where are we on this? And how do we want to, go forward? Continue as is, business as usual, or is there something specific that rises out of it that would be a specific proposal? An extreme being that you collapse two committees into one because they're, that's at the extreme.
Yeah, no, it could be other,
Or it could be, we need another committee, in the other direction. So it just really depends on how important it is to put a little bit more formality into our process of doing this or just doing it casually as we're doing it.
Right. I think that,
The danger of doing it casually is that there's no corporate memory.
well, exactly. I mean, I think that, yeah, I mean, I think if we had it's the limitation of volunteers.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were hired as a team of, if we were the Bloody Block Consulting Company and we were hired to assess the needs, gaps and opportunities in the thing of Stockbridge, that's what we would do.
Yeah.
You know, and so we can, or we can do it this way, or we can take it, or we can do it incrementally better, Steve. I mean, you know.
I mean, have you ever had the discussion with Michael about, does he see that anything is broken in the ways things are organized right now from a environmental and, you know, from all these committees? I mean, again, he's sort of the linchpin here in terms of, if he felt something really was broken, then we can put a little bit more effort into it.
Yeah, I gotta jump off, guys. Sorry, I'm
Okay,
at work and I
do you
got
have
a
any
meeting.
opinion, do you have any opinion about any of these things, Miles?
I think keeping it halfway organized, so we know that we met one committee in 2026, we met another one or two in 2027, so we don't, you know, redo things we should remember we did.
Right. Right,
Yeah.
very good, yeah,
right.
okay.
Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Hey, thank you,
excellent.
Miles.
See
Take
you
care.
soon. All
Yep.
right, you too.
Bye-bye. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
I think,
Yeah, we can leave it at
I think we
that.
can leave it for right. No, I agree with you. And I think at least we should be better. We could be better, even if we don't have a spreadsheet with a this and a that, of having some documentation
That's all.
and even if it's in a loose
We can go
way.
back through our minutes
can
because
go-
we mentioned this in our.
Yeah, because I
we met
can't
with-
remember with Lisa. Do you remember, was there anything that came, that
It's in the
stood
minute-
out?
I
from that
remember it
meeting?
was in the minutes. So we can go back and
Oops, it's 11.
recreate it from the minutes. in
Yeah,
terms
there was
of-
Look at that. I can't remember if she had any,
There was some discussion around composting, which
compost, yeah.
covers, because
That
I
was
think
the-
she's on the ag committee.
Yeah,
That covers that.
yeah. I mean, I think the biggest gap really in some ways is the education around waste. But I mean, I think or like Neil's saying about the marketing. I mean, there's so much that could be shared on a positive basis with people, like that when they recycle it, you know, either reduces or brings in, you know, I mean, they're just things that have value. The metal and the recycling, at least it offsets waste costs. I mean, they're just stuff that seems so simple to remind people of.
One thing that that's been in the past, in around Earth Day is the cleanup,
Yes.
street cleanup. I have not heard anything.
Is
Any
Laurel Hill
organization.
doing something this year? Don't they do it every year?
That had been the case. Liz Wheeler
Yes.
had done that.
I did it before that, me and Marie.
And she's Marie
Raftery.
Raftery. Okay.
We did it and
So-
for like 3 or 4 years, then we came off the board and Liz took over and now there's no one.
I'm not aware of anybody. I'm on the board.
I know.
the board, and
No one's
there's
doing
been
it.
no discussion about taking over what Liz had.
Is she on the board
had done
still?
before. No,
Okay.
she's not. I suspect Lee through the as Jim mentioned, the Greenways Committee. And I read every year they do extensive cleanup, but
They do that and they do the whole town of Lee thing. I don't know. I think that like when we left, we kind of, at least we had trained Liz to do it, you know, and if she didn't,
oh, there was a spreadsheet and the sign.
yeah, we did all those things. It's so easy to do.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
I have no indication of anybody taking that over and moving it forward. So that could be a gap.
Yeah, that's a big gap. And for the town,
I'll do the cleanup on my street, pick up the many nip bottles. So forth
yeah.
that have collected over the winter.
Well, I think that's too bad. I think maybe one thing, I mean, I think we should probably adjourn this meeting because it's over an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's an issue. I don't know if it's for, I don't know who can, I think that Liz, if she could just share everything that she has, like her letter and her, that you send out. I mean, it's all right there. I have it even, on my computer, the same. We send a letter out to last year's volunteers and then put something in the Stockbridge updates and then send out a thank you to the people. And it was basically it.
Sure. Yeah. And
It was very simple.
thank you for doing
Well,
that.
no, that's not the.
I'm just not aware of,
Yeah, no, and Marie did it too, but Marie has her hands full now.
and yeah.
So can we have a motion to adjourn the meeting so that people can, because I don't think we're gonna,
Okay, motion to adjourn.
okay. Because I want to just turn off the recording.